Hello and welcome to No Spin. I'm Nidhi Razdan. The centre's move to sharply cut taxes on petrol and diesel over the weekend has sparked off a fresh row with several opposition states. With inflation hurting people across the board, the finance minister announced an excise duty cut of 8 rupees per litre on petrol and 6 rupees per litre on diesel. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman then put the onus on state governments to reduce taxes that they levy on fuel, which is the value-added tax or VAT. Her statement comes weeks after the Prime Minister urged states to do the same, setting off a war of words. Some states like Kerala, Rajasthan and Maharashtra have reduced VAT in the last few days, but others are reluctant and have accused the centre of only doing a partial reduction in central taxes after sharply hiking them for many years. Among those who's been strongly critical of the centre is Tamil Nadu's Finance Minister, Mr. P. Thiagarajan, who joins us on NDTV this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. If I could begin by asking you, when you said in some detail that you felt that the centre's request to states to now reduce VAT was unfair, it was unreasonable, what did you mean by that? Why did you feel so strongly to say that?
First, thank you for having me on, Nidhi. Second, I would say I don't recall anywhere them using the words requests. They gave demands and then I think the Union Finance Minister used the word exhort. I don't think the Constitution allows any of this to happen. I think the Constitution allows states to manage their own finances to whatever little extent that we have left. We don't have any direct taxes. We used to have indirect taxes. That has been subsumed by the GST. If we are to run our own governments, we have the right under the Constitution, again reinforced by the recent GST ruling, that we have the right to legislate our taxes as we see fit. So the base point to me is when the Union government raised excise, and that too shifted it from excise, pure excise to cess and surcharge, 3 times on petrol and 10 times on diesel. They did not consult the states even one word. They cut the share given to us, even though they took the total taxes from 9 rupees and changed to 32 rupees on petrol and 3 rupees and change on 32 rupees to diesel. They cut the portion that's shareable to us and made us lose income. At that time, they had no compassion, no consideration, no coordination, no iota of feeling for the states or their rights. All of a sudden, for political reasons, they start cutting because they've had bad tax policy for 7-8 years and the chickens are coming home to roost. And now they're trying to make fake villains out of us. This is atrocious. I mean, it's hypocritical. It's shameless hypocrisy.
You're saying they're trying to make fake villains out of you. Are you saying that even after this excise duty cut, the centre actually still has very high taxes on petrol and diesel both because the hike since 2014 has been so high?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So it went up from 9 rupees 40 paisa to 32 rupees 50 paisa. They cut 5 rupees once and 8 rupees once. You take away 13 rupees, there's still 19 rupees. That's still more than double the rate that was being taxed when this government came to power. Let's take diesel. It was 3 rupees 40 paisa or something. They took it up to 32. They cut it by 10 and then another 8 or 6 or whatever they've cut. So they're still 4 or 5 times where they were. Most states have not done anything like it, even though my party was not in power the last 7 years. Even though the ADMK raised it 2 or 3 times, they raised it by 10, 15, 20%. We came to power before it occurred to the Prime Minister or the Finance Minister of India to cut. We cut the taxes by 3 rupees a litre on petrol and we increased the subsidies on diesel because we were not able to ensure that if we cut the taxes, it would go to the targeted people. See, petrol is a lot easier. It's mostly used by bikes. But diesel, some of it is transport, some of it is logistics, some of it is big SUVs and rich people's vehicles. So we found increased subsidies to fisher people and to transport and to agriculture, our transport corporations, and we left that as it is. Now, I want to say one more thing. Because, no, please let me just finish this one point.
Yeah.
Because most states' VATs are at least some portion ad valorem, meaning after the union's excise has been levied, on that total we levy a tax. We have actually lost revenue both times. When they cut the first time, we lost about 1,000 crores. When they cut the second time, we lost about 1,000 crores. So why is that? Because our taxes are 13% per litre on petrol after the excise has been levied. So when they cut 5 rupees, we lost 65 paisa. When they cut 8 rupees, we lost 1 rupee.
So,
paisa.
No, I'm
diesel,
asking,
when they cut
are
10
you
rupees,
saying
we
that,
lost 1 rupee.
Are you saying that there is no scope for the state, for your state government to reduce VAT? And I'm asking also in the context of the fact that other states have done it and it would provide huge relief to the common man. So are you saying that the scope for that is almost Zero.
I am saying that we will act on the best information available. I am saying that we have one of the best statistical outcomes of any government in India. We brought the revenue deficit down from 60,000 something crores to 40,000 something crores. Our fiscal deficit is half that of the union government. Our per capita income is twice that of the national average. Our inflation is only 5% when the national inflation is 8%. I'm saying we know what we're doing. We don't need anybody else to tell us what to do. When we are ready, we will do what we are ready to do to manage our economy. The Constitution gives us the right to do it, and we will do it. We don't need dictation from people who perform worse than us, telling us how to do our job.
It's very evident from your comments that this confrontation between the states, and not just your state, and the centre is increasingly becoming an issue. How do we govern the country if that happens?
No, let me finish. We don't want any confrontation. We do our jobs. We keep our head down. We focus on our responsibilities. We do what the Constitution tells us to do, and we deliver superior results. Ask anybody in this country whether any other state has cut the revenue deficit and the fiscal deficit so much in 1 year, has managed to keep inflation at 5% and real growth 2 years in a row, including the COVID year, above zero and above the national average by a lot. 2021, the national economy sank by 7.6%. We grew by 1.5. Last year, we grew by 9. So I'm saying we know what we're doing, and we are happy to do our work, and we don't like other people extra constitutionally trying to authoritarianly force us to do things we don't want to do. We are producing results. Are you jealous? Are you worried that we are better, so you're trying to cut us down? Leave us to do our work. We are producing results in inflation, in revenue deficit, in per capita income. In every way, we are producing results. Why should somebody else dictate to us how we should act? So did they ask us when they raised the rates? Why should they tell us when they cut? Why should I cut? Is there anything in the Constitution that says whenever they cut, I should cut? If so, why did they raise and not ask us to raise when they did it? It makes no sense. Are we all living in some collective madness here that the Constitution doesn't apply? Just because somebody says so, we all have to jump?
Well, you're using very strong words, extra-constitutional, authoritarian. Are you saying that is the way the centre, is that the centre's approach to states? What has happened to, does cooperative federalism actually exist at all on the ground, in reality?
If you shift the government's revenues from 6% cesses and surcharges to 20% cesses and surcharges, if you start legislating on subjects that are not union subjects in the Constitution, that are state subjects, if you start imposing conditions on states in their borrowings, which have never been seen historically in the history of any government in independent India, if you start legislating about minor ports and dams and stuff, which have been always state subjects, if you start saying cooperation, which is a state subject, is going to be legislated from Delhi, how is this cooperative federalism? Please explain to me.
Okay, so you clearly see it as overstepping by the centre on a range of issues. Mr. Thiagarajan, then what is the way forward? Because is there any meeting point between states and the centre? Whether it's on fuel, whether it's on GST? Yeah.
No, let me ask you please one question. You have been in this business a long time. Please put yourself back 8 years. Imagine that the Prime Minister was Dr. Manmohan Singh. And imagine that the current Prime Minister was then the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Imagine that the union government had taken all the steps that this union government has taken in the last 8 years. How do you think the then Chief Minister of Gujarat would have reacted? Do you think he would have said, yes, sir, whatever you say, we'll do? He was the biggest defender of states' rights, of federalism, right? Just put yourself back. I mean, we all seem to have forgotten that there used to be a constitutional application of the separation of powers between the state and the union. Why is it now that all power should be in Delhi? It makes no sense to me.
Can I ask you a couple of political questions since we have you here? One is on the general atmosphere in the country at the moment, the kind of communal polarization we are seeing, the headlines about the whole Mandir Masjid dispute, etc. How do you see what is going on in the country at the moment, these divisions and of course the impact it has on us as a society and our economy?
It is heartbreaking and it is self-defeating. Any country where you don't have a harmonious social construct, a context and environment, you cannot achieve your full potential for growth. It's not rocket science, it's basic logic. So, of course, it's heartbreaking for us, but our Chief Minister is very clear. And, we espouse our values every day, in every speech, in every bill, in every action. And as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, we want it to continue to be the kind of socially harmonious, inclusive society that we have already had. Every year I go and take part in many Christian functions and many Islamic functions, though I'm practicing Saivite and my family has a long association with the Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple, the Sabarimala Ayyappan temple, so forth. I go devoutly with my children, with my family, but I don't have any reason to intrude into anybody else's faith. In fact, as Aringir Anna said, if a man is truly a follower of God, then the first thing he thinks about is, I want to be a good human being and be kind to all the other people who are also the children of God, irrespective of what faith they have. So both in our values, in our hearts, in our actions, we are very clear who we are, and the Chief Minister will ensure that that kind of, separatist forces and othering will be avoided in Tamil Nadu and kept under check.
See, that's a very strong ideological position that the DMK has. And I'm coming to my next question, which is that just the other day at the Chintan Shivar in Udaipur, Rahul Gandhi, who is a close ally of yours, said that regional parties do not have the ideology to take on the BJP, only the Congress does. Some of the Congress's allies are pretty upset about that remark. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I'm the finance minister. It's not my job to comment on politics, so I'm going to let that slide. We know who we are. We do what we do. I'm not really going to react to somebody else's comments.
Mr. Thiagarajan, if I could just ask you one more thing, which is that Rahul Gandhi also made a comparison to Sri Lanka's economy, saying that India is going the Sri Lanka way, using graphics on employment, inflation and communal tensions to cite that. Do you agree with that assessment?
Look, I've made a speech in Delhi about a month ago. I'll reiterate that it's not exactly the same, because I'm not sure that we'll get to Sri Lanka status anytime soon, because we are a more resilient and a more diverse and a larger scale country. But I made the point that we are in this strange kind of vortex where the power, the authority, the money, all of it gets concentrated in Delhi, and that within Delhi in one or two hands. And on the other hand, the results keep getting worse and worse. I don't think there's any reliable statistic, because the government stops collecting data when it doesn't like the outcomes. But I don't think there's any statistic you can see anywhere that shows that the economy has slowed, that joblessness has increased, and that there are serious concerns about the future. Right, there is a structural issue here. I just want to make one point. There's a structural issue here. It is impossible for one place or two people or 200 people in one city like Delhi to manage effectively a country of 1.4 billion people and great diversity between states, between rural and urban, between different industries, different priorities, different per capita incomes, etc. Anybody who studies complexity of systems will say that it is an exercise doomed to failure. If you try to run one homogenized, one kind of system show from Delhi across a country of this structure, this scale, diversity, this complexity, it will fail. The only question is when and after how much damage. That's all.
Mr. Thiagarajan, those words of caution there coming from you. Thank you very much for joining us on NDTV today. Thank you.